So something that we've been using this whole semester, though you may not have noticed or noted, is layers. So every time that you opened up a file and you saw things but you couldn't click on them, right? The hammer file, for example, or the vase file, that was because of layers. And layers are accessed through the channel box. It's actually in the bottom portion of that particular panel. And it looks a little bit different than most of the other programs you use. So everything in Adobe has an eyeball for whether something is visible, or excuse me, visible. Yes, that's the word. In this case, it's the letter V. So there's these three different boxes. We're going to be worrying about the first one and the third one. And the first one is whether or not something's visible. Right? Turn it off, turn it on. Makes sense. The third box is something a little bit different and it's pretty cool. So I have these walls here and I need to be able to access them while I'm modeling, but let's say I'm done modeling the walls and I just want to be able to select like other stuff. But every time I go to select other stuff, I get the walls too, which is just annoying. So I put them on their own layer and then I click this third box, the one on the right. It's a cycle of three different things. Nothing means it's regular. T means it's transparent. We can kind of see the outline. And then R is a reference. So we can see it. We can see it fully lit, but I can't touch it. So what I've been using in class is I've been referencing things in order for you to see them, but not mess around with them. Well, that cat's out of the bag. So if you see something referenced, it's because I'd like it there for you to be able to see, but I don't want you necessarily using it for whatever we're doing, because maybe we don't want to be able to accidentally select it. So how do we make a layer, or how do we put stuff on layers? So there's a bunch of boxes or buttons right here. The third one over, and unfortunately my tooltips seem to have vanished. Stand by. Haha, found it. It was under settings, preferences, and help. So there we go. If we hover over the third one, it says create a new layer. So you create a new layer, it creates it at the top. I can't really drag to move it. I have to click these little buttons to like move it up and down. And I can say, all right, this layer I'm going to double click it. I'm going to call it furniture. And maybe I'll put the table and the dresser on there. So how do I put the table and the dresser on there now that it's already selected or created? I select the dresser, and by the way, I grouped all these, so I hit up to get the little knobby things. Hold down Shift, I select the table, and I right-click on the layer, and I say Add Selected Objects. And we can test it by turning it on and off. And there you have it. So the furniture is now on the furniture layer. There is another way to create stuff, though. I can select all of the things. There we go. I just hold down Shift and then I hit up every time I select a new thing because I know there's a bunch of stuff with them. And this fourth button over here is create a new layer and assign a selected object. So it does everything all at the same time. And I can call this, I don't know, stuff. That's a terrible name. Don't call it stuff. But it has all of the things on it. Now you'll notice I'm moving this down. It's not changing the display order in terms of like the trim is over that's not how 3D works. This will have more to do, this order of layers will have more to do with rendering when we get to rendering, and you can't always change it. So for right now, we just put these in an order that makes sense to us. I usually put the walls on the bottom because, you know, it's the background, even though it won't just, I could put these walls in on top of everything, it's not going to display in front of everything, right? I can also, let me see here, let me go to the stuff, yeah. When you double click on it, so yeah, it's display type is set to normal. Template, excuse me, I called it transparent earlier. It's template when you can see through it and reference there. So you can see the same settings that are usually there, but mostly it's just we're going to rename it. All right, so layers are pretty simple to use. It's just that it's a very different looking interface than we're used to seeing. Don't worry about the piece for now. We're going to get to that later. But basically, you can create an empty layer or create a layer from selected. You can use this to select all the objects in a layer. So you can right click and say select objects, and it'll select everything on that layer. You can, let's see, you can remove some objects from a layer. So if you're like, I don't want these to be on any layer anymore, because they don't have to be on a layer, you can say remove objects, and now they are no longer on a layer. Although I don't think, yeah, there we go. They're back on the layer. Let's see. These are various things you can do to everything that's on a particular layer. You can empty a layer if there's something that's hidden, you can't figure out where it is. You could say empty the layer. You right click to delete the layer. I would make sure nothing's on the layer first. And these layers show up as an attribute. So if I go to the shape, they show up. I never deleted history, so heaven knows how many. Okay, no. We'll go to the table because there we go. So the table I deleted history on, and so there's the transform nodes, the shape node, and then there's a layer node, the furniture layer. So it's on the furniture layer. That node is on all of these that are on layers. It's just that it was buried for the dresser because I haven't deleted history yet. And then there's the shading nodes.